We're in Alpitronic headquarters with Branden and Flasch. How exciting is this? We're going to do an out-of-spec bits video. Cool. So, Branden, you've been here at Alpitronics for how long?
Just over 2 years. So I was one of the first in North America.
I remember it was such an exciting time when Alpitronic was finally coming to North America. There was all kinds of discussion about, are they coming, are they not coming? Then all of a sudden you guys showed up, and I figured it was going to be, 5 years before we actually had any kind of presence of Alpitronic in our communities. But in Charlotte alone, I was just at some this past weekend, and I went to the Mercedes-Benz high-powered charging station that's going in on the south side of Charlotte. So there's Alpitronics going in over there, and obviously we're here at the headquarters. There's Alpitronics outside. We'll go take a look at it in just a second. And your role here is?
I do a little bit of everything. I work on the engineering side, product marketing, trade shows, testing, interoperability, working with our vehicle OEMs as well. So I help out in pretty much every regard of the business.
Tons of vitality going on here. And some of the customers that we could kind of rattle through, I'm sure everyone is aware. We got Walmart, we got Mercedes-Benz, we got BP Pulse, we've got Apple Green. And EA, I know we got some to some extent, so there's a little bit of EA experimentation going on. But how about if we go outside and take a look at some actual chargers that are out there?
Of course.
And just so people know, we are in the main lobby of Alpitronic North America. Is that the actual name of the
Alpitronic Americas.
Alpitronic Americas. And we do actually have some in Canada already.
Yeah.
Thanks to our good friends at Mercedes-Benz High-Powered Charging. Started to light some in Vancouver.
Yep.
And these units here, I remember when the building was first put in, those did not exist. So how quickly did these start to show up?
So it took a little bit longer than we wanted. I believe it was about a year after we moved into this building. This was actually one of my first projects when I joined the company, was getting this ball rolling. So I spearheaded this project, but we had 4 of our HYC1000s installed, and then we also have 4 of our HYC50s installed. The 50s are mostly for employee charging. We have a lot of employees that do drive EVs. And then the 400s, of course, sometimes employees charge on them, but we mostly use them for testing with our customers and partners. Different vehicles, different backends, different payment terminals, making sure that we test the entire ecosystem, and also just using our own hardware so that we're experts on it and we find any issues before they hit the field.
One of the things I wanted to ask is, when a customer comes to Alpitronic and actually purchases hardware, I'm assuming there's additional services, like we see one of these service trucks behind us. How much of an extent does the customer get access to the service network? Is it like complete access to the service network, or is that a service contract they add on? I don't want to get into any
a little bit of all of the above. There's of course the 2-year standard warranty included with the charger. That would be at best effort is the response time there. Then we also, of course, offer SLAs or service level agreements, and we offer extended warranties. So, of course, depending on the customer, depending on the scale and things, there's different proprietary offers and such, but we try to service the chargers ourselves as much as possible. That way we get our hands on any issues, which of course will come even with the most reliable product. And then that way we also take all the parts from the field. If there are any issues, bring them back to our HQ here, and we have a repair center that we analyze any failures, and then we can actually refurbish the components if applicable.
Oh, okay. And I would have to imagine the complexity with OCPP integration to a individual CPO's business requirements, whatever that may be, and the actual powder coating of the exterior conversations. It's got to be a very complicated sales funnel in order to get through. And it just feels as though Alpitronic has kind of found a way of abbreviating that or made it more efficient or something. But there's so much complexity associated with getting one of these things. It's not just putting it into the ground and plugging it in and walking away. There's a lot of complexity. There's also the monitoring that is something that you all provide, or is that kind of a shared effort?
Yeah, a bit of both. We have a dedicated fleet performance team, so their entire job is monitoring the entire charger fleet in the field and finding any issues before our customers see it, before drivers see it, and introducing fixes for the software team, or working with our vehicle OEM partners to resolve it on the vehicle side if applicable.
Yeah, so very impressive execution of getting a charger from a factory and actually into the ground, and the volume has been absolutely staggering to watch. I mean, as I said, just this past weekend, I was at a Walmart in Indian Land, South Carolina, that was going live, and it's not the only one. And just here in Charlotte, there's multiple ones that are going in. And so there had to be conversations with, I know when you work with a large enterprise like Walmart, things tend to become a little bit bureaucratic. And the fact that Alpitronic was able to complete the process and help them get to a point where the stations are actually becoming live is really an impressive feat.
Yeah, I mean, Walmart is certainly not the first large enterprise we've worked with. We have customers such as Mercedes and BP in Europe, among many others. So we're no stranger to that concept.
Yeah, very, very impressive. But okay, so we got the 4 Alpitronic HYC400s, which are basically working units that are used for actual people who are engineering in this building in order to come out to test software and different payment terminals. And I'm guessing the cables get swapped out with some regularity.
Yep.
And so functioning units, I would imagine that if I was a employee here, that when I came up, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the cable that was on there yesterday.
Or that's a different customer background, or, oh, I'm getting 5 kilowatts because someone limited the power for testing better.
Yeah, but the exciting thing that just came on campus here is the HYC1000. If we could walk over to it, which is hiding over here in the background, and we'll see Scott with the dogs getting their dinner.
Yep. Yeah, and another thing is with the 50s, most employees use the 50s for their primary charging.
They're operational?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, those are used every day. We have NACs on a couple of them, and then we have CCS, of course, and some adapters that people use as needed. But I'd say for the most part, for just general use charging, people will use the 50s. That way it's a little bit easier on their battery. And
sure,
even when it's split power at 25 kilowatts each, it's still plenty fast for day-to-day charging at the office.
Exactly, especially if you're here every work day. I mean, so... but yeah, and then we have the HYC1000, which is the star of the show. My goodness, look at this thing. And we just were able to record a little while ago, I believe, to be the first non-Alpitronic employee charge in North America with Kyle's Model S here. And very exciting times. And as I said, the whole sales funnel complexity that you guys have the efficiency perfected for, I'm very confident that other companies aren't going to be able to produce the execution of sales that Alpitronic has been able to demonstrate to date. So I'm very confident we're going to start seeing these in the wild pretty soon. Is there any timeline on when these might start to be seen in customer hands?
Yeah, you should see some pilots later this year, and then larger deployments from there.
Yeah, that's basically what we saw when Alpitronic first showed up to North America. There was a couple of pilots. I think it was in, 2024?
Yeah, late 23, actually.
Okay.
I actually installed the first one in my previous role.
And then after that, it just was gangbusters, and it started to really explode from there. So we're probably thinking a slow testing phase in the remainder of 2026, and then after that, we'll start to see production as sales dictates in 2027.
And thereon, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we like to walk before we run, find any issues at small scale, and then that way we don't have major issues in the field. We can find any problems, which we know we will, fix them, and then scale up from there.
Yeah, and there was recently announced the next generation of the HYC400 that I understand to be currently limited to European sales.
Yep, for right now.
But the HYC1000, I think, has the same SiC power modules as the Gen 2 HYC400, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So these are the same power modules, so eventually that's what's going to be running the backbone of the Alpitronic network globally, I would imagine. And so we're talking, what is it, 600 amps per power module, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And a total of 8 in there. So is that all able to be outputted to one handle if it was like a truck?
Yeah, you can do 600 amp continuous on the EV dispenser or on the CCS part of a truck dispenser, or the MCS dispenser can actually do up to 1500 amps.
1500 amps, okay. It's got to be a unique cable, I'm guessing?
It's just MCS.
Wow. Okay, so the MCS cable is...
Yeah, MCS will go even higher and even higher voltage as well, but right now most are limiting to 1,000 volts like we are. Okay. But MCS, I believe, goes up to 3,500 or 3,000 amps.
I did not know that. Very interesting. And so if we have one dispenser with 2 handles, does that mean 600 amps split between 2?
Nope, 600 amps per. So the other day we were testing and we actually had over 600 kilowatts output from a single dispenser. We had a Ionic 5 and a Silverado 24 module, so we were able to output about 370 and about 250.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, so I was expecting it to be split between dispensers. So we got 600 amps and 600 amps for it.
Yeah, you have 2 600 amp circuits going to each dispenser.
Wow,
you can, of course, configure it lower power if you wish, but that can support up to 2 600 amp circuits.
Very impressive. Yeah. So that way, if you don't have to have, like Mercedes right now, what they're doing with HYC400s is they're having a dedicated HYC400 for higher power cars, and some of their stations have that. But in this particular case, that would be unnecessary because you can get the same power from any cable, even if it's being shared in an adjacent stall. So
yeah, and it's worth mentioning the 400 can do simultaneous 600 amps as well. However, you are limited to the 400 kilowatt max output of each HYC400.
Ah, okay, I got you. But no such limit here because we got all the power we could chew.
Yeah, we've got a full megawatt at our disposal.
Well, very exciting times.
Yeah.
And Branden, much appreciated for coming
Likewise.
out on Spec Bits.
Of course,
and
happy to be here.
Look forward to what the future may hold because watching you guys from the outside, I don't think you realize what a feat you have accomplished to date, but it's been incredibly impressive. I'm sure people are going to be studying this in business schools in the years to come.
Yeah, we live in the bubble here, so we don't always appreciate it, but sometimes we have to step back and look at the map and realize that 2 years ago, or even when I started, there were 0 dots on the map, and now there's well over 1,000.
It is truly breathtaking. So very briefly, before we cut the end of the video, we're talking about the HYC400, and I'm assuming the volume of sales that are going through this facility. I don't know if they all come through here. I guess they go through Wisconsin?
Yeah, the chargers don't come through here. They typically go from the factory and then to our end customers, either to their sites or to their warehouses.
Right, but talking about the sales funnel that we're talking about at the beginning, there's also the whole integration with the OCPP with the individual CPOs, and I'm assuming there's a lot of customization. And I'm guessing that's where we are once something actually happens and you have to turn it into an actual customer product that you're handing over to a customer, there has to be a lot of validation testing that goes on, and that's where we are now, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so this is what we call our hill, or hardware in the loop. So we have 2 of our HYC400s with 2 different configurations, and we have 1 megawatt of DC to AC, so it's a regenerative load bank. So that way, instead of having to use the full 400 kilowatts from the grid, we can actually just use the losses. So to run 400 kilowatts, you might have about 10 kilowatts of losses. It's just the heat generated by the power conversion.
Ah, so you got to be very respectful of that. I would imagine. Very cool. So this is where the secret sauce of the sales funnel actually happens. So anyway, I'm very impressed. I've been in tech for a long time, and as I say, seeing something that is cool tech is one thing, but seeing something operationally monetized and put into customers' hands is something completely different. So very impressive effort that you guys have done.
So this is how we test our software releases, how we test our different payment terminals, and then different integrations with different customers and all that fun stuff.
Very cool. Well, Branden, once again, thanks you very much.
Thank you.